Where's the bell?
They took the bell out of the
They
other
didn't
room.
take the bell.
Shoot the gun. Wait, we're going just this way.
Shoot the gun.
Now, this may be dead on account of the humidity. Everybody's attention. What is your name, young man?
Jackson.
Jackson. I'm going to start this this talk with Jackson. When I was younger than Jackson, I was playing with these. Assemble that, Jackson.
All right. I don't know what those are.
Yeah. Well, this is where it all starts. With
I'm trying to put this thing together.
If it doesn't involve the computer, they can't do it anymore.
He can, just give him a chance, he will.
Oh, yeah.
Remember years ago, down there on, where the jail used to be, Jeff's Hobby Shop?
yeah.
And they used to have all kinds, I mean, he had some that's 2 feet,
Yeah.
huge, you know, yeah.
I used to do that.
That's it.
And it had, the ones had the fella and the rubber band on them. I don't know how many I lost in pine trees.
Well, I remember when I was 8 years old, living over at Apple Springs. My sister and I were walking down the road. We were headed from where we lived to Earl Smith's house, which was north of us.
You had it right, boy.
Yeah,
right.
I was kicking roots and stuff in the dirt road there, and I kicked the root, and it was the stock of a shotgun. An old breakover, single shot 12 gauge. So I got it, dusted it off, brought it home, and I sold it to an uncle for $8. And I went and bought a little battery-powered airplane on the end of a wire.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all ever saw them. I mean, but batteries last about 10 minutes and go. You know? But that's the first airplane I ever picked up, was a little battery-powered.
Jackson.
Is it going to work, Jackson?
Break that thing. Look at the seam between the two right there.
You got to
There's
break this off.
two parts right there.
One goes in there.
That, other way. There you go.
Does anybody really know how those were distributed?
These? No?
Shredded wheat cereal boxes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So this brings back lots of memories, though.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Instead of this junk.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the cereal, but I had much.
What is your name, sir? I haven't met you.
Waylon Woolsey.
Glad
I'm a new member here.
Okay. Glad to meet you.
There you go.
That's it, just get it.
Okay, Jackson, see if it will fly.
Alright,
All right.
who wants to catch it?
Throw it. Oh, my gosh.
Well, anyway.
You missed John.
That's
Try
where it all
again.
starts for a lot of us pilots, you know.
Center gravity problem here.
Yeah.
Give it to the mechanic.
But a lot of you guys, early on were in airplanes. I was 29 years old when I had my first ride in an airplane. 29, living in Orange, Texas. Up until that point, I was building models and stream control, you know, the little, and we were living on the river in Diwall, and our house burnt in 1959. And I had a whole fleet of model airplanes that burned up in our house. You know, I mean, but they were all hand built. But anyway, at 29 years old, we were living in Orange, Texas. I was working at DuPont, installing sprinklers, and going to church there. What's the name of the church, Linda? We was going to church there and met some guys, and after church, we were walking out, and the guy had a RC model airplane in the back of his car. A guy named Charles Murray. And introduced myself to Charles, and he said, hey, why don't you come out and go ride with me in the plane at the airport? So we go to Orange County. That's probably the first airport I ever visited, small airport. Never been to one. And so Charles, he says, you're going to have to wear this parachute and this stuff. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we're going to be in a chipmunk. And it was a Canadian chipmunk. We take off, get strapped in, we got 1,500 feet, we go inverted. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. Here we are inverted, you know, I mean, at 1,500 feet, and we fly around and chase ducks on the marsh and just do all kind of stuff. And, but anyway, that's a long story. Well, we came back to Lufkin, and Charles was a flight instructor that taught for Ed Floyd, Orange, Texas. Ed Fogarty had a son named Randy. Well, after we moved back to Lufkin, we stayed in contact with him, and one day we went down to eat lunch with Randy and Janice, good friends, and Randy was telling me that his dad was selling his flight school. He had a 206, a couple 150s, and was selling everything. So before lunch was over, I bought a 150. 152 actually, a 78 model. Never having been in a 150 before. So that's when I met Mike Trahan, that y'all met Mike Trahan. So here I am, I bought an airplane that had no way to get it home. So I asked Randy, I said, Randy, how can I get this airplane home? He says, let's call Mike Trahan. So my first instruction was in this 150 that I bought. Mike and I get in it. He says, you're going to take this airplane off? I said, okay. Well, I had been flying RC models for 10 or 15 years, probably back in the early 70s. So I knew the, flight pretty well, as far as on the stick. So we got in, I took off, we come on to Lufkin, I landed the airplane. I mean, took it off, landed, just with Mike telling me, do this, do that. That was the start of my flying career, 1985. Well, for a number of years, I had that airplane, the first airplane, 2 weeks, had it tied down on the ramp. Got a call from Barley Linderman, said, Rick, you might want to come out and check your airplane. I said, what's up? He said, well, 7 airplanes have been destroyed at the airport, and mine was one of them. I had insurance with Avimco. Came out here. There was probably 20 airplanes on the ramp back then. 7 of them were damaged. It just so happened all 7 were insured. The rest of them out there, not insured. This was, just think about it. So, anyway, here I am with a damaged airplane, 2-week owner, and up at Jacksonville there was a 152 79 model, run-out motor. I bought it for the same amount I paid for the first airplane. I think it was $7,800. My 150 had a fresh motor in it that got damaged. The engine wasn't hurt. So I bought the other airplane, put the engine in the new one, and then sold the scrap and started renting airplanes. So I was renting a 150. A couple weeks later, a month later, I bought a 172. Started renting a 172. Some months the 172 would fly 70 hours a month. That was a lot of flying in a month. And I was able to make enough money, buying, selling, trading, to buy some more airplanes. And gosh, I don't know how many I own, several. But my talk today is not about airplanes so much as about what airplanes does to people, how airplanes bring people together from all over the world. At any given time, I may get a call from Guam, I may get a call from Okinawa, Puerto Rico, Alaska, due to people I met through aviation. It just makes the world a small place. All this stuff you see here is Alaska. In 1996, I had traded for a Stearman. I had a 172 I bought from Nacogdoches. Gosh, I'm trying to think who owned it. It was bought new and up there, and I used it in training. I got my instrument rating in it and all that. And y'all remember A.L. Johnson?
Yeah.
An 8-hour check ride. Can you imagine? 8 hours check ride. He puts you through the paces. And
Probably would have taken Lindberry 16.
but anyway, I'm skipping a lot of stuff to move on kind of time. I don't want to keep you guys here long. But anyway, I had traded this 172 for a 180. I had a 56 model 180 I was restoring. And while it was down, I wanted another 180 to fly while mine was down doing repairs. Well, the guy I bought the 180 from, after about 2 years, called me. Well, he had a Stearman at the time. And, I'd had the 180 from him about a year. He started calling me trying to buy it back. He wanted it back. I said, well, it's not for sale until I get my other 180 in the air. But a year later, after 2 years, I'd had it. I traded for the Stearman, 1996. Well, one Sunday, I was out here at the airport washing the steerman. Linda was out here with me. No, she wasn't. She wasn't with me that day. That
Was your other girlfriend, right?
Yeah, it was the other girl. Yeah. Well, anyway, a guy was out on the ramp working on an old 182 that belongs to a doctor in Lufkin, a pathologist. He would use auto fuel in it, and every year have to check the carburetor off and rebuild it and all that. Well, a guy from Livingston, Texas, Cleveland, was doing the annual inspection on it. He saw me washing the steerman in the airplane in the hangar there, and came over to bum a piece of hardware to install a carburetor. He didn't have any lock washers or nuts or something. He was bumming hardware. And so sure, I got him the hardware he needed. And he said, you know, I'd really like to ride that airplane. Talking about the steerman. I said, well, sure, when I get through washing it, I got to go dry it off anyway, so we'll go riding it. Well, we took off and flew around a little while. Come back and landed. And he says, Rick, I got a proposition for you. I said, okay, let's hear it. He says, I've got a 185 in Prudhoe Bay. We've had it up there 5 years working it, and I need to get it back to Cleveland, Texas. He says, is it possible that you could fly commercial to Fairbanks? I'll bring the 185 from Prudhoe to Fairbanks, let you have the airplane, and once you get there, you can use the airplane as long as you want in Alaska. Just when you're done, bring it back to Texas. And I said, let me talk to my wife. I said, let me get back with you on that. So I came home, I talked to Linda, and I said, Linda, we got this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know, to get an airplane in Alaska to fly anywhere you want to go, and then bring it back to Texas. So I came home, talked to her, and the kindness out of her heart, she said, go. So I went. You know. And while I was, planning this trip, I thought to myself, I always wanted to go bear hunting with my bow. So I hunt with a little native stick bow. So I says, I talked to the guy's name that had the airplane in Alaska was David Duke. Now this is not the David Duke out of Louisiana, the one that, this whatever, bad guy. Well, anyway, his name was David Duke. In fact, Duke's daddy used to work for Temple Inlet, I believe, as a pilot years ago here in
Southland
Lincoln.
paper.
Southland Papers, is that where he worked for? You know it, don't you?
I replaced him when he.
Okay, right. Well, okay, Jim knows him. Well, anyway.
Small world.
It is. It's a very small world, Well, David, I called David and said, David, I'd sure like to go bear hunting with my bow while I'm up here in Alaska. He says, look, Rick, he says, I'll hook you up with my boss. Now, his boss was this man right here, Charlie Warbelow. Has a mountain named after him in Alaska. I mean, this guy, born and raised in Alaska. I mean, it has 40-mile air, flies probably 600 or 800 hunters in every year to remote airstrips and things for moose hunting and caribou hunting and. Okay, where's those shoes? These shoes are Charlie Warbelow's shoes. Charlie died in a helicopter crash. I think it was 2000. Charlie had come to my house in May before he died. I had bought a vehicle for him. Charlie had this guy right here, Connor Thomas. Connor, him and his wife went to Costa Rica on vacation. He gets to Costa Rica. Now, he's a partner of Charlie Warbelow's. Charlie also owns a coffee plantation in Hawaii, pineapple plantation, plus this airline in Costa Rica. The way the airline got started, Connor there is trying to get from point A to B, island hopping. So he calls Charlie. He says, Charlie, get down here. He says, I've been a week trying to get from point A to B. We're going to start an airline. So their little vacation trip, they started their airline. And finally, their airline was flying more people in Costa Rica than the government airline. At that point, the government put in restrictions restricting them from flying. So pushed them out. So this is how two people changed aviation just by, and these are Charlie's shoes. His wife Nettie gave them to me. These are big shoes to fill. You know what I mean? Just, they can be filled. They hang on our wall, and Also, Charlie was sitting with me in my in our little mule down on the bottom one day, and a big black panther ran across the bottom, you know, I mean, big old thing. Just a lot of memories. And this was kind of a picture we took, just, you know, one of his hunters killed this little bitty thing, you know, and I made him pose with it. I said, Charlie, that's the baby, you know. Anyway, okay. Back from Charlie. Well, anyway, Charlie, he hooks me up with the chief. Said, Rick, I'll hook you up. My story's getting mixed. He says, I want to hook you up with this chief, which is Charlie's brother-in-law of this nation. Now, this chief, Danny Adams in the middle here, where's another picture? Is a chief over just under 1 million acres that they own, fee simple. 1,100 square miles. About 90 people live on it. And when I first got up there, white people wasn't welcome, you know. But these are the two sons. Okay, story. But anyway, he hooks me up with the chief.
Rick, what kind of tribe?
Athabasca. Okay, Athabasca. Well, anyway, he hooks me up with the chief. Charlie says, Rick, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, be at 40 Mile Air. The chief will come by and pick you up to take you bear hunting. Okay, I'm there Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. Wednesday comes and goes. Thursday comes and goes. Friday shows up. Little did I know, both other days, the chief had been driving by looking at me, but went on. Didn't want nothing to do with the Green Gulf of Texas. On the third day, he pulled up there on Friday, and he said, you the guy from Texas? I said, yeah. And his old truck died right there. I mean, gasoline flooded out of the carburetor, all this. And he says, I can't take you hunting. I said, well, what's the real problem? He said, well, my truck won't run. Okay, I said, do you mind if I look at it? Well, the next thing you know, I've got the hood up and I'm rebuilding the carburetor. 2 hours later, I've got it running. He said, okay, we can go hunting. So we go down to the Tanana River. The Tanana River here is on the Alaska Highway, and you have to get in a boat, then take a 3-hour boat ride back into all these swamps to their village. Now, the only way to this village is by boat or by air. 40 Mile Air charges $150 per seat one way. You know, if you buy groceries, it's $150 each way per seat. You know, it costs. Okay, so he takes me down the river in the boat, you know, 3-hour ride. I've got my bow, and, you know, we're going pretty slow when another Indian with a faster boat passes us. 2 or 3 bends up the river, he kills a big bear. So we get up there, and this guy got the bear. But in the meantime, I'm talking to the chief, and I said, how come we don't build a road into this village? I says, y'all got no access. I mean, if you don't have water in the river, you can't take a boat. If it's not froze over, you can't take a winter trail. So there's about 2 months of the year that they could get there on the winter trail with any big, heavy stuff. He said, man, you can't build a road in here. It just won't work. Well anyway, later, we built 28 miles of road to this village. Right now, they're on the Department of Transportation's funding list for road repairs. Just from a ride in a boat, I bought bulldozers, rented them to them, build road, you know. So it was, anyway, okay. Story. On that first trip.
Did you get a beer?
Huh?
Did you get a bear that first trip?
Nope, didn't get a bear. Got one later. After I left that first year, he gave me this. This belonged to his grandfather's grandfather's grandfather. I'll pass it around. It's a fleshing tool for fleshing moose hide. The cloth on it came from the Russians. There was 40-something groups of Russians that entered their property before they had their first white contact with, you know, Americans. None of them ever left. I mean, they're all buried there. And so that's where the cloth and the metal came from.
How did they die?
Fleshing tool.
I mean, this is, you know, Guys, you know, the stuff I've seen up there, I don't have enough words or pictures. I mean, there's just no way to let you know what I've been exposed to up there. It's, I want to pass these around too. I think while I'm talking, people will look at it. And,
A lot of work goes into that bead
Oh,
work right
yeah,
there.
and they are so.
here's another
Much
box.
fun.
But, the first year up there, I'm gonna talk about the drum a second, after I met the chief and everything. Well, I contracted with Danny's grandfather, which was the chief, a guy named Titus, to build me this drum. Titus David, he was the chief at the time that I was there.
Yeah.
Titus was well over, I think he was over 100 when he died, passed, you know. Well, anyway, I contracted with Titus on an agreed amount, I think $300, he was gonna build me this drum. Well, the next year I came up, the drum had been built and covered, but hadn't been painted or finished because Chief Titus died before he completed it. Well, after the chief died, the tribe council decided, Rick, we know the chief promised you this drum, but we can't sell it. It's the last one he made. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I was up there. They presented me with the drum and gave it to me. So, you know, they wouldn't sell it to me, but they gave it to me. This is the first moose I killed up there. And pass these around too, John. But guys, I mean, this all comes from aviation. There's no way that a kid from East Texas could ever get connected with any of this without being in an airplane. You know what I mean? That's what I'm, you know, it just opens up doors, doesn't it, Chuck? Huh? Who? I don't know that guy. I mean, but let me tell you the story of that moose.
It's probably the guy that shot the moose because Ricky chases him but doesn't shoot him.
The older of the two boys there was about 13 years old when that picture was made. Now this kid called this moose from 5 miles away up to us, just with his mouth, with the moose making moose calls. Called him up to us. Well, I'm on one side of this thicket of trees, Willie's on the other side. He said, Rick, get over here, the moose is coming. Now, a local guy in town had loaded me up a bunch of ammunition. Clyde Horton, I don't know if any of y'all know Clyde Horton, loaded me up some 280 rounds from my 280 mountain rifle that I carried, a little light mountain rifle. Well, Willie's got this moose 75 yards. I'm sitting there, and Willie's toting the 300 Win mag, and I've got the 280. He said, Rick, you already used this 300 Win mag. I said, Willie, I don't need that 300 mag. So I shoot this moose 5 times, one after the other. I said, Willie, you be the 300 mag. So you need to listen to these guys if I tell you something. Like another little trip. I took one of my bosses up there with me that I worked with for years with a company out of Houston to go moose hunting. And when we get up there, the chief hands us some coordinates and says, Rick, there's 3 big moose right here. Y'all are going to get them. Okay, so we go to get them, and we get over here and we drive around on the river, and the moose are on this little thing. And we asked these boys that are in the boat, says, put us out and let us go here and flush your moose out. They said, we don't go there. Well, anyway, we made them put us out where we could go through there. 10 hours later, we walked out a mile on the other side. All deadfall and everything. So when they tell you we don't go there, don't go there. Gosh, pass this around too, let people look. I mean, you know, it's just, cool.
We made it.
Anybody got any questions?
Right here, what hide is that made of, do you know?
The fur.
That's moose. No, the fur is like beaver.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The 10 hours, what took you so long on that? Was it
A
just?
fire had went through there,
Okay.
and all the trees were just over. I mean, and every time when they burn off, they're like daggers.
Yeah.
My friend James stuck one through his head. He tripped and fell and caught himself. And one of those spruce daggers went right through his head.
Yeah.
So,
There's not a place to be.
Well, no, I mean, I'll not go back there. I mean, there it is. Now this here, have any of y'all ever heard of a potlatch? You have? Have you been to one?
No.
Okay. I forget what year it was. It was probably, it's about 5 years after 96. Gosh, anyway, but the chief called, invited me up to go moose hunting another year. And I said, Chief, I can't come this year. I'm tied up with business and everything. He said, okay, Rick. He said, I understand. Well, about 2 weeks later, he calls me. He says, Rick, he says, I've given a potlatch in Tantacross. He says, you're the guest of honor. Now, that's where this picture was taken, right here. I'm the guest of honor at this potlatch. All right, now this potlatch is for his son here, which I was with his son when his son killed his first moose. So he's throwing a potlatch for his son in his first moose kill, with me the guest of honor because I was with him when he killed the moose. That's when I got this rifle. They gave me this rifle and this potlatch with it. Yes, and all that. Now, a potlatch is where a man takes everything he owns and he lays it out on the floor and he gives it to all of his friends. When he comes out, he's broke. That's basically the best way to describe a potlatch. I mean, can you imagine taking everything you own and laying it out on the floor and passing it around to your friends? This is how they live.
Why the kids in first line?
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, there is just for 3 days. Potlatch last. Day one, they feed breakfast, dinner, supper, and they mingle and all that. Second day, same thing. Third day, there's probably 4 times as many people because that's when all the gifts are given away. And, you know, and then blankets and money and guns. He gave away 50 rifles. That potlatch. You know, I mean.
And what do you have in yours?
Never? Oh,
Well,
I don't want to move to Alaska.
it's this. If that potlatch made me a chief, so that was my guest of honor gift. Is potlatch gift. But aviation has meant a lot to me. I'm gonna cut this short and I'll cut it off, but. There's just no ends to what this little thing can do to a man's life. That's why this Young Eagle program is so important to me. How this little thing can go to all of this, from just a little, this is your,
Thank you.
and you know,
Rick, didn't you make a couple other trips up in your own plane up there?
well, those are other stories though. Like one chief, well, the chief and I, in my 180, you see all this Tanana River stuff? We flew for about 5 hours, 2.5 hours one way down this river, looking for moose crossings where the tracks are. And then turn around and find out. We did all this at 5 to 10 feet above the river. I mean, I wish I had a GoPro camera. I mean, can you, there is just,
Now he has one.
Another time. Now this is a good one. Charlie and me, I'm staying at, Linda and I got some stories. We're staying at 40 Mile Air. Linda's cooking. I mean, 2 banana puddings a day. What is she's cooking? Feeding the pilots and all this stuff.
We're talking banana pudding. We're talking banana puddings.
I mean, well, she's cooking. Well, anyway, one of the pilots comes in and says, Rick, over at Steamboat Bend on the Bisbee River, there's 3 big trophy moose. He said they're 70 plus inches, maybe 80. What this guy here, Leif's come down and hunted with us out at Joe's Ranch and everything. He says, Rick, get your stuff together. Now this is like 2 hours before dark. He says, I'm going to take you out and put you on a gravel mark where those moose are. I said, okay. I get a Coke, a couple slices of bread, a can of Spam. What else? That was it. You know, then I took food. My tent, my gun. We land on the Bisbee River and puts me on a gravel bar and he takes off in the Super Cub. Well, I put the camp together, get the tent set up. Next morning I get up and I open the tent flap and it's sleeting, it's snowing, it's raining all at the same time. I mean, just, you know, just all the above. Just So I close the tent and I'm back in the tent. Okay, that's day one. Day two, open the tent, same thing. About noon at day two, it starts clearing up a little. I hear something. It sounds like my 180. Well, anyway, late, Linda had worried that I didn't have enough food. So in a gallon plastic mayonnaise jar.
Been gone 3 days.
Well, this is, yeah, but on the second day is when you set the food, right?
No, that 3rd day.
Was it the 3rd day? Okay, I'd have been there 3 days. Anyway, one of those days, I got a food drop. Well, the air cleared up enough, here come the 180. I open the tent flat and I see him coming straight at me. I see the window come open and I see something come out the window and he rolls it right up. I didn't even get out of the tent to pick it up. I mean, this is gospel. I mean, I reached out and picked it. And it had a baked potato in it, a Coke, and something else, you know, and then I was in there for another day. Well, anyway, I guess it was the 4th day. I opened the tent. Boy, it looks nice. It's going to be a good day. And then I hear this cub coming. He comes in, he lands. He said, Rick, bus cap, we got to go. I said, what's up? He said, another big front's coming. And he says, if I don't get you now, I may not get you this spring. So I spent basically 4 days out there in a tent, which is a perfect hors d'oeuvre for some grizzly bear. You know, I mean, think about it. I wasn't too bright. And, well, anyway, I come back, we take off, we circle, and here's these 2 big moose in a pond within a quarter of a mile of where I'm camped. And we're talking world record moose. Well, anyway, I went by them and hadn't been back there. But that's another story.
That once in a lifetime trip turned into about 8 in a row. Then you
But-
skipped about 3.
Guys, 2 weeks ago, the chief there, I had to go to Alaska to say to get my last. He 57 years old. In 2008, found out he had bone cancer. And now diabetes. About 3 months ago, 4 months ago, they took his right foot off, and now the rest of his leg. I went to the doctor with him, and I asked the doctor for it. Like, he said, what's Danny's conditions? Or he said he had 2 major organs failing. Kidneys were 20% functional. He said the normal blood flow through the kidney was 122 milliliters per minute. He's got 20 milliliters per minute flow. Heart. I mean, say a prayer for this tribe. I mean, this man has kept this tribe together. I've seen this tribe go from the Stone Age to no roads and live in mainly subsistence. I mean, everything they caught or shot was what they got because they couldn't afford a $150 trip down every day. Took them from the Stone Age into the 21st century. You know, all with a vision. From 2008, when y'all ever hear about the pipeline supposed to come from Prudhoe into Canada? 28 miles supposed to cross right here on the village. I got a call from the chief, and he said, Rick, he said, I want you up here. I said, what's up? He said, I'm going to make you our agent. So he called me up there to make me their agent for their tribe. I said, what do you mean? He says, I want you to be over our land or our water, everything. You're going to be our agent. And he told me about the pipeline coming across. Well, when I heard about the pipeline, I carried a group of hunters, not hunters, but investors up there. A friend of mine down in Houston owned an oil company that found the largest discovery of natural gas in one reservoir in the history of the Gulf of Mexico. And I took him up there to lease the land to him for hard mineral, for oil and gas. That way we could hook gas into the pipeline. Turns out it's all volcanic. There's no oil and gas. So I leased it to him for hard minerals. This past, in 2008, we signed the lease for the minerals. Each year they've been looking. Last year they had 80 people doing discovery for gold and hard minerals. In one plot of land, a 40-acre tract, they have found 1.4 million ounces of gold reserves. I mean, 1.4 million.
That's where I got lead.
Huh?
Plus that other precious metal.
Oh yeah, and that's equivalents of silver, copper, and gold that are all there. And, but here I got a guy that can't afford medicine. I mean, they're so poor, but yet they've got all this, they're sitting on it, and you know, it's just so, gosh, I don't know.
So what do you think the future is for, I mean, is there
The future, oh yeah,
the
so,
chief?
the chief, any day I expect to get a call.
So who's next in line? How
His
does that?
son.
His son, the way their system works, they have a chief and they have a second chief. Right now, Danny has just stepped down from being the first chief. And the second chief has moved to first chief, and Danny's oldest son is second chief. But what, these are some smart young men, but they've got big shoes to fill to replace Danny, you know what I mean? And, you know, there's hope, but, gosh. Guys, I don't want to hold you on no longer. I mean, I'm done.
Enjoy.